Welcome to the Reed Report. Back with another episode following up on the Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor situation, and we have some new layers to add to this entire thing. So yesterday on The Jump, it was the first appearance since the story broke from the New York Times Sunday. The first appearance of The Jump. Of course, we had Rachel Nichols opened up with a scripted apology. She had, more than 24 hours to work on this thing because that thing came out Sunday morning. And I think this time over here on the West Coast, The Jump comes on at 4 p.m. But I was able to find it on Twitter because I'm not, into watching ESPN unless they are broadcasting a sport that I'm interested in and watching. So yeah, like I said, so Rachel opened up with a scripted apology talking about the number one thing they teach you in journalism: never be the story. And I don't want to be the story, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to let this moment pass by without apologizing to Maria Taylor, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the whole shtick. And her apology was short, simple, and guess what she did? Right after the apology, she tossed it over to Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick went on his monologue about, accepting her apology and, Rachel, I've known you for a little while, you ain't never did nothing to make me feel uncomfortable and, blah, and all of that. And then he tossed it over to Richard Jefferson. Richard Jefferson talked about, I've known you for 20 years and, blah, blah, blah. And of course they both had to, throw Maria Taylor's name in their monologues just to, but this whole thing was it's still protecting Rachel Nichols. Like, that's what they're doing, and that's what KP and Richard Jefferson did in this situation, because Kendrick Perkins later on went on I think the show was called the Clubhouse or something, and he was explaining the situation, and he was just saying that, talking about not wanting to possibly lose his job and how the situation has nothing to do with him and RJ. He thought they handled it well. And my thing is, if you feel this way, why would you allow them to put you out there like that? You said you had nothing to do with the situation, so why were you on the show? Are you guys really that fearful? Like, what, do ESPN hold something over you guys' head? Why were you on the show? And I was just saying, caping for this woman. Why did you not tell them before the show? I know you said you were scheduled to be on there, but why didn't you say, hey, for the show opening, I don't want anything to do with this. This has nothing to do with me. I don't want to talk about it. Rachel should give her apology. They usually, I believe, always open up with a 2 to 4 minute monologue talking about, the big headlines of sports. So she could have just taken those 2 to 4 minutes and just apologized, because KP and RJ's, talking, their monologues were longer than her apology separately. You don't even have to combine what KP and RJ said. If you just use both of theirs separately, it was longer than anything Rachel Nichols had to say. She had a scripted apology, which she had a little over a day to prepare. But yet no one is talking about the other big stories. What about Kayla Johnson? The lady who got suspended for 2 weeks for giving Maria Taylor this information. And then she left the job with some other black employees. What about them? Why isn't anyone talking about them? Could it be that the best interest is to keep all of this heat off of LeBron James's advisor, who said between Black Lives Matter and Me Too, he's just exhausted? And Rachel laughed because, like I said in the previous video, this is all a joke to them, in my opinion. They don't really take these movements as serious as y'all think. Look, I'm not a supporter of Black Lives Matter. I'll say it. If you don't like it, I don't care. Kick rocks. I'm not a supporter of Me Too, because I know that they all have an agenda. I'm not saying that things don't happen to women in the workplace or just in the world. I'm saying that the people who push these movements has an agenda with these movements. That's what I don't support. The agendas. That's why they laughed on that audio, because they know what they're saying behind closed doors. They told you what they're saying behind closed doors. How do we get a money grab off of this? They're not going home, like I said, they're not going home thinking, oh man, so terrible what happened to George Floyd. And that's not constantly on their mind. They're waiting for the next script, the next money grab. That's the story that people aren't talking about. Kayla Johnson and LeBron James's advisor, Adam Medelson, or whatever his name is. But they want to put all of this on Rachel and Maria, and then they want to say, oh, it's ESPN's fault, all to keep the heat off the fact that they laughed at the fact of Black Lives Matter and Me Too, because they know that this agenda is not something that they take serious. This thing is not something they take serious. They're thinking about how they benefit off of it. They're not going home thinking about Trayvon Martin or George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. They're not thinking about any of that. But you had KP going on television, you know, taking up for this woman. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. You taking up for her for something she said. And you said it yourself that this is between these two women and you have nothing to do with it, but yet you will take it upon yourself to go on television and speak on her behalf instead of addressing the real issues, and then talk about how you don't want to lose your job, you don't want to get crazy. I'm not saying get crazy. I'm not saying not to even, honestly, I'm not even saying not to stick up for her. I'm saying don't act as if she didn't say what she said and that's how you try to pass it. If she's your homegirl and you support her and love her, that's your deal. But I can see right through her, and I don't even know her. It's not hard to see these people's agenda. Y'all doing all this just to keep the heat off of LeBron's advisor. Because in reality, y'all all pretty much team LeBron. Y'all all pretty much work for him. So you knew what people were going to say. You knew what people were going to start calling you for doing that. I'm just asking, like, man, what do ESPN have over you people? Because I heard, what's the guy's name who used to work for ESPN? Yeah, his name was Mike Hill. Mike Hill, who said, I think he said he worked for ESPN 9 years. And he said that in a meeting, an executive at ESPN once upon a time told him that he will never move up in the company. He'll never advance because he's too ghetto. And they already have one of those. And he think that they were referring to Stuart Scott. So we know the culture that exists over at ESPN. We know how they feel. And again, I'll say this as well. The reason they're under this heat, the reason you're all facing this is a prime example of what happens when you try and fake make a difference. When you pretend like you care. If you don't care about something, don't pretend to care about it. I know that, you know, with the status of ESPN and the status of your jobs, you can't because people are going to expect you to. But hey, that's the risk you face. Like you are thriving financially. They have a lot of money. Of course, they're owned by Disney, but you can only fake pretend to care about something for so long before people start to see through you. And I said it in the other video, eventually you're gonna have to take that next step that make people that really show that you really care about something, and you know that it's something that you can't do because it really compromises your disbelief in this thing. But yeah, man, that's the situation. That's what's going on. Really disappointed in Kendrick Perkins. Not saying he should have went off and snapped and went crazy and called Rachel Nichols this and that. Of course he can't do that, but you know, there comes a time, you know, you just can't compromise your beliefs and what you believe in, because you'll always be at war with yourself. You'll never be free in here, never. That's why you always have to stand on what you believe in, because it's true. If you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And you guys going to work seemingly walking on eggshells, knowing that you have to say this, and if you don't, then you could risk losing a paycheck. And I'm just like, gain the whole world and lose your soul. And at the end of the day, you got to ask, was it worth it? Is it worth it? Because this is not your fight, but and you inserted yourself in there. You stood on camera with Rachel Nichols talking about, oh, I gave Maria her flowers. But this is a I stand with Rachel Nichols type situation. And we got RJ, we got all you guys, and all of you are tied with LeBron James. And this right here looks like, let's protect Rachel, but let's put the heat, let's keep the focus on Rachel versus Maria. That way it don't get to Adam, whoever his last name is, for saying that he's exhausted from Me Too and Black Lives Matter. So let's put this as this is ESPN's fault, because they don't care about themselves taking the blame for what happened, because people will never really look upstairs to look for the head honchos in charge like that. They always want to just blame the faces that they see every day. But don't forget that Mike Hill said an executive told him that he'll never move up because he's too ghetto, and we already have one of those. Don't forget all the other black people who's left ESPN. And Mike Hill said himself that every African American that were there, they had issues with higher ups. Stephen A, Stuart Scott, Kerry Champion, Jamel Hill. We already know, Jamel Hill's situation. But again, man, it's not looking good. You knew what people were gonna say, but yet you chose to do it anyway. And you know that it's not sitting well with you in here. So that's on you, KP. That's on you. Thank you guys for hearing me out. Until next time, we got the NBA Finals tonight. Probably do some commentary after that game. Thanks for hearing me out. Until next time, later.